Is it really possible to live on $100 a month in Asia? You might have heard that the cost of living is way less in certain countries than it is in the West. And some channels are even saying you can live on $100 a month or less. But is that really true? We're going to explore that question a bit in this video, and what I'll show might even surprise you. But first, I found this stunning video that I want you to see that fits the theme of this channel: agency. That is the capacity to make independent choices, like living where one might prosper best. So, this man that we're about to see is an expat, and he's done something extraordinary regarding his humble Social Security check. I'll be commenting periodically, but let's get to it, and at the end, we'll crunch some numbers.
This is my little house I rented for $33 a month, and I began to renovate and make it my home base. As you watch the video, keep in mind 100% of the improvements I made using only my Social Security income.
So, the first thing right off the bat is he's telling us he paid about $33 a month, but that's about $400 a year annually, which is phenomenal. But what we're going to see also is that he is going to give us a walkthrough of what the place initially looked like, because it looks cool right now, right? But later on, we'll see that these were improvements that he made to the residence.
If you like what you see, you can do this too.
A new place, a new home, for a while, let me feel alive.
After I'd been here about a year, I was in a relationship that was coming to an end, and it was time to move on. So when I first started looking for a place to rent, I was looking for a cheap place to come in out of the cold when I was road weary from traveling. A home base, a quiet place where I could rest, recharge my batteries, and a place where I could find peace and quiet required to edit my videos. The idea was if I could get a cheap place to rent, I could fix it up and save money. I'd be able to renovate to Western standards that I'd hoped to find, and then having the extra money to travel. For my first video about the property renovation and the follow-up videos, I got a lot of comments asking how I found this one. I'd always intended to explain that in a video when I had finished, and so here it is.
So that's one of the keys when you're trying to find a place to live in one of these countries. If you want a deal, you're going to have to hunt around for it. It's not always something that's presented, because typically what happens is foreigners can oftentimes be taken advantage of. So you're going to end up paying more than what a local would pay, unless you're a little bit savvy with the way that you go about trying to find some of these places, which is what this lesson is all about that we're watching here. We'll keep watching.
If you watch until the end, it will be describing the process of how I found it and how I negotiated the lease contract. It will also explain why I put money into a property that I don't own. There were a lot of people who asked why I didn't just buy it. And there are three answers to that question. First of all, it wasn't for sale. Secondly, I didn't have the cash. The day we settled the rental terms, I had $38 to my name. Thirdly, only Filipino citizens can own land in the Philippines. I did not want a condo, and that's airspace, so you can own condos, but you can't own the land under it. And then there were the typical trolls who basically said I was a fool for putting money into a property I didn't own. I got the property at such a low rent that even after the renovation costs, I still saved around $7,000 over the term of the lease.
So right there is a key point. Like, he's paying so little for the rent. For him, it was worth the time, the effort, and the finances to put some money into a place, because ultimately what he's getting out of the place is worth far more than what he's losing. After all, no matter where you live, you're going to have to pay something for rent, right? So why not pay a low amount and get a place that you can customize? Pretty phenomenal, if you ask me.
If you include the rent that I paid for the entire term and all the money that I'd put into it, my rent would be about $100 a month. When I first took possession of the property, the first thing I did was hire an electrician to check all the outlets and to make sure everything was good there. Plus, I edited some outlets. Then I hired a painter to paint the property inside and out. At that point, I was into the property maybe $350 to $400. Then I started on the kitchen. I found 2 pieces of granite for about $240, and the installation was $25. The cupboards were about $400 installed. I put the French doors in, and they were at a cost of about $140 installed. That's parts and labor, everything.
That's a
Then the
big
tile
mirror.
cost around $200, including materials and labor, etc. The glass block window was worth another $60. At that point, the kitchen was pretty much finished, all in about $900 with a sink and a few other little things. So I started on the bathroom. The glass block wall was about $100. The floor to ceiling mirrors were $120. The sink and the toilet and etc. were about $150. And new tiles around $100. All those prices include installation. So all in at that point is about $470 into the bathroom. In the bedroom, I believe I have about $350 in the mirror and the wallpaper. On the outside, I replaced all the windows and the shades for about another $300. Outside, I did some work for a total of about $700. There was an old tree there that broke up the old patio and had an old bar that was off-center. It was kind of crooked. I knew it would drive me nuts, so I just tore it down. I had them demoed and replaced the patio, the bar, and a Kubo native type roof over the top of it. It has electricity and lighting to the bar, plus water piped in and drainage for a sink I had planned. The bar top and the counter were made of 2-inch thick acacia wood. Now, a lot of people right now, especially trolls, are wondering why would you put so much money into a rental property? Well, if you take a look at how much I put into it, and then you add the rent to that.
Okay, so look at this place. He even got a bit of a yard. Did you see that little dog that was running around? I mean, this is a good deal all the way around, I think, as long as the contract and everything is upheld.
Divide it by 48 months, and your average rent is $100 a month. Now, let's say you take the market rents for the property as it is, say $250 a month over 48 months. That's $12,000 over the term of the lease. The total rent and improvements over the same time period was $4,600, including the rent.
That's pretty phenomenal. So what we're seeing is that he really did a lot of customization, and the owner of the place has to be pleased, right? Like, because long after he's gone, these improvements will still stand.
Now, to me, that sounds like 160% return on investment over the term of the lease. But they will insist you never put money into a property you don't own. Keep in mind, the day we signed the lease to this property, I had $36 to my name. How far will $36 get you in the West? Then there's the trolls who are saying, oh, they're just going to kick you out as soon as you get it fixed up, blah, blah. Oh, you just wait and see. Oh, you're going to be sorry. They just called me 3 weeks ago and gave me an additional year. Then there was the troll that said, it looks like a prison. Well, I wouldn't know. I'm an expat, not an ex-con. Now that brings us to the man
Funny guy.
cave, which has a total cost of a little over $3,000. I rent it as a hotel room for expats who want to come and see what it's like to live in the province. It was originally going to have a pool table and maybe some gym equipment. Then it evolved into it from there. About a 30 square meters or 300 square foot fully furnished unit with fiber optic, Wi-Fi, very comfortable bed, sofa, 55-inch smart TV, etc., etc. If I'm lucky, it'll pay for itself, but not meant to be a profit center. I think about it as an art project and as a creative outlet. Now, I've had a lot of people ask me what would it cost to build the man cave from the ground up? And I would tell them approximately $5,000 because I questioned my contractor that I use about that. And that's the figure that he gave me to duplicate this building on a separate vacant lot. Now, I just visited a friend of mine and he pays $35,000 a month rent. So over 12 months, he paid $4,200. For me, an extra $400, I get 3 extra years. Well, if you include the man cave, that's only 2 free years. When you go out looking for a good deal, remember, there are 3 different ways to look at it when it comes to renting in the Philippines. The first type is polished, newer units that are target priced for the expat community at higher rents. Then there are the lower rent properties, which are for whoever comes along. Then finally, there's the type I like, the rusty diamond in the rough with tons of potential. Type A is simple. You sign the lease, move in, and you're done. Then type B is a lot lower rent, but not all up to Western standards. In this type of property, the owner has no incentive to improve the property because he's just asking market rents for the average Filipino. So why would he put more money into it if he didn't have to? Okay, so what is the problem? The paint? The toilet? It's not a flush toilet. Hot water for the shower? Hey, now those are issues that can be easily solved for a few $100. If you get a few years lease and you get a very low rent locked in at much lower payments, I'll do that any day. I mean, if I've got to spend $5,000 painting and doing a few things to make it, very nice in Western style, I'm going to save $30,000 over a year. I'll do that all day long. And
Yeah, I think he's smart, and this is pretty wise if you can find this kind of deal. You have to have people that you can trust, of course, because there are bad things that can happen. This is a foreign country and people do take advantage of expats, travelers, etc.
Get to pick out the colors. Type 3, like in my case, I was referred to this owner by a friend of mine who's a jeepney driver. When I saw through the fence, I imagined it pretty much as you see it today, including the window shades. Then when I walked through it, it reminded me of a few houses that I saw in the process of being flipped. Paint inside and out pretty much as it ended up. But
One of the things that is pretty awesome about this is he has created a space that he can even rent out and possibly make up the cost of what it costs him to live there for the month. So, again, this is a pretty brilliant strategic move.
a little more flair in the end. And so I am here today. The rent is paid until November, and then my next payment for the year, $395, will be about the same as my friend pays for a month. So when I'm out looking for another property, I will look for a house that appears to be abandoned. I will stop, I'll ask the neighbors who owns it. I'll try to approach the owners and make them an offer. If they accept the offer, then I will be back in a position like I am when I got this one. Now, if you like what you've seen and you find it helpful, please leave a like. If you haven't subscribed, please do. And if you have any questions regarding anything you've heard here or about how you can find your own, please leave a comment. I promise I will get back to you.
Okay, so there you have it, a pretty interesting video. I will leave a link to his video in the description. Now, I have contacted him about renting the man cave. Here's the thing, the Philippines is 7,600 islands or so, and I don't know which island he's on. And that can really make a difference when it comes to things like functional internet. What kind of stores are around you? Is there a mall nearby? Etc. So that's very important. Maybe you'd like to rent his man cave if you come to the Philippines. And so, again, I'll leave that link in the description to the whole video and to his channel. So, the big question here is it really possible to live on $100 a month here in Asia, here in the Philippines? Let's look at some numbers. Okay, so I'll give you my opinion on the $100 a month thing in just a minute. I am qualified, especially when it comes to the Philippines. I've lived here for about 4 years in different places. Cebu City is the place that I've probably spent the most time. I rented a room there for over a year, and that is considered mid tier. The prices vary. So in Manila area, that's the highest cost of living. Then Cebu is mid tier, and then Davao area is kind of the lower end. But you will find prices all different in different places, whether or not you're living in the city or in the province area. So this, of course, is talking about the cheap province monthly budget. Okay. So the first thing that it says is that you can find a room for 5,000 to 10,000 pesos, 82 to $164 a month. I think that's pretty accurate. But again, does that include electricity or not? Because electricity is something that you will probably have to pay for. So electricity, $25 to $74. Now again, don't forget this is the province, a monthly budget. Water, you may have to pay for water where you're at. So that's another one. Internet and Wi-Fi. I find that this one is one of the most important. And so you want to have good Wi-Fi wherever you're at. You'll also need a cell phone. So does that is another $5 to $16 a month. Okay. Let's see, what else do we have here? Food. Food is a big deal. Laundry, people don't think about that. So food, we're talking about 7,000 to 12,000 pesos just for food. $115 a month. That really sounds about right. And that's if you're not eating out all the time. Transportation. Are you going to buy a motorcycle? Are you going to have a scooter? Are you going to rent? Are you just going to use the jeepneys? How are you going to get around in the Philippines? So they're saying $25 to $66 a month. Let's see, laundry. A lot of people don't think about that. You can do laundry yourself in your place and then hang up your clothes. But most people have their laundry done $8 to $25 a month. Drinking water. This is a big one. Drinking water. This is a big one because You can't just drink the water out of the tap in some places. You got to buy water, you got to get jugs installed. Uh, so consider that $5 to $13 just on drinking water. Will you be somebody that works out, right? Gym and fitness. That's a big deal. I want to stay fit. You got to stay fit when you're living in a foreign country. You don't want to go to a hospital, especially not in a poor region. I'm just telling you. This next one is a big one. Visa extensions, okay? So the cost of your extension, you're going to be paying every month a certain amount, and I found that it's somewhere between 2,000 and 4,000 every month or 2 months, just depending on which visa that you get. Okay? So that's an important one that people don't budget in. Medical, your medical buffer, okay, can live without it. Entertainment, can live without it. Emergency replacement buffer. I'm not sure. Talking about phone repairs, motorcycle repairs, something happens, dental. You want that cushion, but you're going to want that anywhere you live, right? So let's talk about realistic totals here. Bare bones local style, 25 to 35 a month. That's about 410 to $574. Cheap but sane for American. I thought that was so funny when it said that. It's saying 656 to $902 a month. Yeah, I think that that is doable. So for a quality of life and for somebody just coming here, I would say $1,000 a month is reasonable. And that's in the province. Can you find that in the city? Absolutely. But it may take some searching. So let's see what ChatGPT said. For you, I guess he's talking about me. I would not plan on the 25 to 35,000 peso survival budget unless you are intentionally living very humbly. It is possible, but it can feel restrictive fast. So there you go. That's this thing's that's the ChatGPT estimate. So it's saying minimum serious budget $738. Better target is 902 to 1066, and with some breathing room 1230. I think all of those are fair figures, but you can find and do this cheaper. But let's compare this to a national, to a Filipino that's living here. The very poor survival level is 3,000 to 6,000 pesos per month. 6,000 pesos is about 60 bucks. Okay. So that's their monthly budget. That is not very much money. The low income Filipinos, maybe they're making 10,000. That's like 100 bucks a month. Modest but stable, 10,000 to 18,000. Okay. You can do the math on that. It's about 60 pesos to the dollar, 59, 58. It fluctuates. Middle class, provincial Filipino household, 25,000 to 45,000 per household per month. And remember, Filipinos often they live tight, their families live together. So 60 bucks a month for the poor Filipino is pretty average. There's a lot of people here living on that. But the fact of the matter is, for an American person living independently in the province, a more realistic, cheap number is still probably 35 to 55,000 per month. I happen to agree with that. Now, there are some caveats that we can talk about, and that is the gentleman in the video, he did it for $33 a month, but then he had the extra things that he added on. He's living in a province somewhere, and there's a big caveat with his situation, and that is he had the ability to make a spare room where he can potentially recoup a lot of his money. That's a phenomenal deal. And I'm not saying that you cannot find that here in the Philippines, but that's going to take some ingenuity on your part. Can a person reasonably expect to pay $100 a month to live in the Philippines? I would say not realistic. Not realistic. Can you find rent for $100 a month in the Philippines? Yes, but you have to add in all the other expenses that go along with it. Could you do it for $200 a month in the Philippines? Tight. 300? I think 300 is a doable level in the Philippines, but that is not very much money. And you are not going to be having fun every night. You're not going to be going out for drinks or eating dinner or anything like that. That is survival level. And you probably don't want to live like that here in the Philippines. Now, could you pull that off for a season, maybe with some friends? Yeah, I think you could do that. It just depends on where you're at. But if you're planning on living in the Philippines long term, I would say at least bare minimum 600 bucks a month is what you need to come up with. And there are ways that you can generate that income primarily online and be able to successfully navigate the Philippines. So there you have it. That's my take. If you disagree with me, please write in the comments what your experience is and what you think you could live in the Philippines or any part of Asia and how much. I've heard Vietnam is hot right now. A lot of people love Thailand. Cambodia is on the list. I personally really enjoyed Malaysia. So you let me know in the comments. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Let's keep this discussion going. Okay, until next time, blessings.